Ahora sí, muy buenos días para todos de manera oficial. Bienvenidos a nuestra sesión de información. Es un gusto tenerlos aquí como siempre. Gracias por concedernos esta hora para conversar de un tema muy interesante en la mañana de hoy. Vamos a hablar de Acadia University, una de mis universidades preferidas, porque es una de las que ofrece los mayores valores agregados en todo Canadá, con muy buenos rankings, número 1 en la provincia, número 3 en todo Canadá, con opciones de co-op, con programas asequibles, con un campus maravilloso, opciones laborales, así que considero que es una universidad que lo tiene todo. Ya Ana en un ratico nos dará más información muy detallada, bien específica respecto de todos estos temas, así que vamos a tener una sesión maravillosa. Bienvenidos, recuerden que pueden hacer las preguntas en español, en portugués. Tenemos aquí dentro del panel a Flavio, nuestro Country Manager para Brasil, como se sientan más cómodos. Ana también habla español, así que va a poder responder a sus preguntas en este idioma si es que ustedes así lo prefieren. Así que, nuevamente, gracias, Ana, bienvenida. Es un gustazo tenerte aquí con nosotros. Gracias por aceptar esta invitación para contarnos sobre todo lo que hace especial a Acadia University en Nova Scotia. Así que ahorita doy paso entonces a Flavio para que dé la bienvenida en portugués y una vez Flavio termine, Ana, la presentación es toda tuya para que nos hables de esta universidad maravillosa en la provincia de Nova Scotia.
Boa tarde a todos e todas, um imenso prazer tê-los aqui esta tarde, já aqui no Brasil às 13 horas, no horário de São Paulo. É uma sessão super especial, recebendo um pessoal da Acadia University, a Ana e o Karen, também meu colega David, que fica na Colômbia, para falar dessa universidade, que é uma das universidades mais incríveis que nós temos no nosso portfólio do Canadá, oferece programas sensacionais para que os estudantes possam escolher, e que também com uma opção de co-op, que é bem bacana, os alunos brasileiros gostam bastante. Então, aproveita essa sessão. Se você estiver aqui agora ao vivo, pode deixar sua mensagem aqui no Q&A box, para que a gente possa responder aqui ao vivo. Caso você esteja vendo essa gravação, pode me enviar também depois um e-mail ou um WhatsApp, que nós teremos o maior prazer em assessorá-los. Sejam bem-vindos a todos e boa sessão.
Muchas gracias, David y Flavio. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time out of your day to attend this session. I'm just going to share my screen so that you can see some pictures that are more representative of Acadia. Can you see this? Good. Okay, bueno, gracias. So Acadia University, as is mentioned, we are located in Canada, in Nova Scotia. I'll show you a map in a second, but we are in a very picturesque environment. So this is what you would see maybe 10 minutes outside of the university. It is an environment where students feel connected to the nature around and to the community within. So if students or families are very interested in creating one-on-one bonds with their professors, or really getting to know the environment and the nature that surrounds Acadia, it's a really good place to be. So my name is Anna Martin. I am the International Enrollment Advisor for Latin America, the Caribbean, and the US. So if you ever have any questions, you can always feel free to reach out to me via email. I would be more than happy to answer any of your questions. I am an Acadia alumni. I graduated in 2019 from politics here at Acadia. So I can very much answer any questions about any of the arts programs that any students might have. A little less so for any science programs, but I can make do. So Acadia University is actually one of the oldest universities in Canada. We predate the country itself. So we were established in 1838, which means we have a really long-lasting legacy of academic excellence. We did have the first Black graduate student here at Acadia, as well as the first female anthropologist. So lots of firsts here at Acadia. As well as the first school of computer science in the province. So like I mentioned, a long legacy of academic excellence. In terms of where we're located, it's an hour outside of Halifax, which is the biggest city in the Atlantic region, which really gives students the duality of living in a small university town, where they can concentrate on their studies, but also the option of going and doing a fun activity on the weekend that you wouldn't be able to find here in Wolfville. So an hour as well is from the airport. So students would typically fly into Montreal or Toronto and then take another hour-and-a-half flight to Halifax and then drive an hour to campus. So just for some geography purposes, Nova Scotia is the province in red, and we are inside in the Bay of Fundy, which is a unique environment. So again, for any student looking into environmental sciences, biology, community development, this is a wonderful place to be because of the unique environment and unique experiences that we offer here at Acadia. So this is the Annapolis Valley. This is the region that we're located in. It is primarily a farming environment. So as you can see, a lot of green, which also offers a unique microclimate. So again, environmental sciences, biology, chemistry, anything like that, students really utilize this unique environment that we have. Another great thing about the Annapolis Valley is our unique microclimate. So not only is Nova Scotia actually the most warm province on average, but the Annapolis Valley is even more so. We receive more sunny days than anywhere else in Canada. And we actually have higher, warmer temperatures than the rest of Nova Scotia. So because we're in this valley, we're protected from harsher weather, which is really good for students who are coming from warmer climates to adjust. So the town of Wolfville itself is a small town. So students should expect to be comfortable around town. They should expect to recognize a lot of faces that they pass by. They should expect to see their professors in the local coffee shops or just walking down Main Street. It is very much a unique community. So if you go to a store more than 3 times, they get to know you and your face, and they'll ask you, you know, how is the program going? How is this going? Do you want the same order if you're going to the coffee shop? So it is a very personalized experience. The downtown core can be walked in about 5 minutes, and there's everything that you would ever need as a student. There is more than 5 different coffee shops, a grocery store, 2 pharmacies, more than 15 restaurants, and a couple of local little shops where students can find pillowcases, blankets, things like that that they might need for the residence room. The university is actually downtown, so it is very centrally located in Wolfville. And most of the students in their 2nd, 3rd, and 4th year who live off campus don't walk more than 10 minutes to go to class. So it is a very short commute. The town of Wolfville itself has an agreement with the university, which makes our relationship very cohesive. Everything that happens in both the university and the town need to equally advantage each other. So a lot of what students will feel like at Acadia and in Wolfville is that everything is centered towards the university. So even if we are a smaller community, students feel like they're in a big school because everything around is buzzing from what is happening at Acadia. In terms of numbers, the town itself has 4,800 residents, and that doubles once the students get to town. So it is very much a university town. We are a small university in the Canadian context. So we have around 3,500 students in the undergrad and grad level programs, which allows students really to get a lot of one-on-one time with their professors. The average class size that we have at Acadia is 28 students per class. So students really have a good adjustment period when they come to Acadia because the classes aren't very much bigger than what they're used to at the high school level. And this is really one of the things that Acadia highlights is that community relationship, that one-on-one relationship that students will have with their professors. Being in a smaller class size means that your professors know students by name and they are very easily able to recommend any extracurricular activities, you know, identify if a student needs some extra help, give them a really good recommendation letter to continue their studies, and things like that. So it's a perks of a smaller university with all of the experiences of a big university. So some fun facts for you folks here. We have the highest number of academic all-stars in Canada. What that means is that our student athletes are not only the best athletes in their sports, they are actually the smartest athletes in proportion to other athletes in the Canadian University League. So we are very much focused on academic achievement here. We are also the only university in Canada with our own private research island. So we have a research island, Bon Portage, which is 2 hours from Acadia campus, where students in the sciences go to collect certain lab data, to get some experiences, to do some field work, which is very unique because there is no other university that has this opportunity. So lots and lots and lots of hands-on for those students who are in chemistry, biology, environmental sciences, geology, geoscience. So great experience there. We also have more than 200 degree options. What that means is that students can mix and match their majors and their minors, or double major and minor in completely different fields, when we'll talk about this in a minute. And there are more than 50 different countries represented in our Acadia student body. So around 28% of our students are international students, which is around 800 students, which makes for a very diverse campus because we are such a small university. And because we are so welcoming, students really have a good time adjusting to Acadia. So this is kind of an old picture of the overview of campus. The water that you see there is actually the ocean. So because we are in the Bay of Fundy, we actually have a UNESCO site, which marks the Bay of Fundy where that water is, as one of the wonders of the world. It has the highest tides in the world. So students, when in their first year they come, when the water is completely down, they actually will go mudsliding, which is a very unique activity, unique to Acadia University and to this region. But again, even if we have a small number of students, students have a lot of land to explore, which really reinforces that feeling that they come from a big university or attending a big institution. All of our buildings are red brick, so they really get that Ivy League feel, that old institutional legacy feel when they do come to Acadia to study. Even if it does look like a pretty big campus, residence is not more than 7 minutes away from any class location or from dining hall. So it is a very centralized campus as well. So to the nitty gritty, all of our programs that we have are listed here. Some might be lacking in kind of programs that fall under. Just to give you an example, if a student is interested in international relations, that would fall under our politics program. We do have an international politics relations strand under our politics discipline. Same thing for theater. We have performance theater or theater management. Same thing for engineering. You know, we have chemical, rural, industrial, mechanical, electrical engineering. We also have different disciplines within our psychology. So we have specializations in neuroscience that are available for students as well. Within our business, we have entrepreneurship, administration, marketing, accounting, and finance. Music, we have music performance, and music therapy and music education. So a lot of things that we do offer aren't necessarily explicitly listed here, but they would be available on the website. So most likely if a student is interested in something, we do offer it, even if you don't see it here. In terms of mixed matching programs, students can double major in any of these fields if they like, and they can minor in any of these. So we do have lots and lots of options for students. So if a student wants to major in economics, and have another major in business, it's actually a really compatible pathway that really advantages their career prospects in the future. And it doesn't cost students any more to do a double major than it would to do a regular just one major minor. It just means that they would have a little bit less flexibility in terms of electives, which students really adjust to very well anyway. So these are the minor options, which means that students outside of studying their major would spend the most time studying their subject of their minor, which most of our disciplines here are available. So in terms of admission requirements, this is kind of the average requirements. There are specific requirements differing from country to country. So for all of you, I didn't really have time to put a list of all the Latin American curriculums and each program description for admission purposes, but all of these are available on the Acadia admission website, or you can also reach out to me and I can give you a concrete answer as to what the specific requirements per country is and per program. But just as a rule of thumb, we like to see an average of 70% or 75 in biology and kinesiology in our average of 5 courses. So our admission team looks at 5 courses relevant to the program of study. In general, for art students, we would only look at English, and 4 academic courses that are relevant, which are the highest grades. Any of the sciences, we require a chemistry, a pre-calculus math, and English, and then 2 academic courses additional. And for the professional studies, it's usually English and pre-calculus math with 3 other academic courses with that average of 75 or 70. International students coming from a Latin American country who are not at a English-speaking institution will need to provide a TOEFL and IELTS, Cambridge results. Again, those proficiencies are on our website, or I can forward that to you as well. But that is only for students who come from a solely Spanish or Portuguese speaking institution. Most international schools or IB schools do not need to have students take a TOEFL or a language test to be admissible. So in terms of scholarships, we have more than 5 million scholarships, or $5 million in scholarships awarded every single year. And because the average student coming into Acadia has a pretty high average in grades, they are automatically eligible for some type of scholarship. With around 1,200 students coming in every year, that means that even more of our students who are eligible get more money. So students don't need to apply for a scholarship. It is automatically determined based on their grades. So those top 5 courses that I just mentioned for admission, if students have an 80 average within those top 5 courses, they automatically will receive a scholarship. There is no extra application or anything like that. So once a student applies and has their transcript sent over, our admissions team will look at their grades and be like, yep, you have an offer of admission, and at the same time, they will let you know of academic entrance scholarships. We also have a different round of scholarships. The deadline is March 1st. So entrance scholarships can be given at any time during the year. Additional special academic scholarships, the deadline is March 1st. So students who have applied, received a letter of admission and entrance scholarship offer prior to March 1st would receive the opportunity to be considered for those extra scholarships. The process for that is we send 2 forms to the student to complete, and based on those answers and how many students have completed those forms, the additional money will be divided. In terms of tiers of scholarships that we have for the entrance scholarships, there are 4 different tiers. 80 to 85% is tier 1, 85 to 90, tier 2, 90 to 95, tier 3, 95 to 100 is tier 1. On average, our students will receive at least $5,000 if they're in the tier 1, and can go up to a maximum of $60,000 divided in the 4 years that a student can come. All of the scholarships would be put into the offer of admission, and then additionally, those additional scholarships with a March 1st deadline would be also distributed through this status application portal to a student afterwards. So they would have access to all that information, how much money they receive, when it's divided, and things like that from their student portal. In terms of the application timeline, Acadia has a rolling admission, so there is no specific deadline for applications. However, we know for international students, the longest part of the process is the visa application process. So we'd like to see students having a full application done by May latest, because it can take a few months, especially now because of COVID, for students to receive approval or denial from the Canadian government for their visas. So typically, our applications will open in October for the following year. We do have 2 intakes at Acadia. There are certain programs that aren't offered in the January intake, such as the Bachelor of Applied Sciences, so the engineering program. But most of our programs are offered both in January and September intake. So depending on the curriculum that your student may be coming from, it might be easier for them to come in January, or they might prefer to come in September. But like I mentioned, October will open the applications for the following September intake. And usually the applications for January will open around April or May of the prior year. And then in November, we have a few Experience Acadia Days or open houses where students are more than welcome to travel and attend, or like we've done in this year, in the past years, we've done it virtually. So depending on what happens with the pandemic, we might have a virtual option, or it might just be in person. The March 1st deadline is for additional scholarships. Like I've mentioned, students are still considered for entrance scholarships no matter when they apply. Course registration would open in March. And then in May, we would have residence room selection beginning, and summer orientation would be offered in June. We usually do this per country. Let's say if we have 5 students coming from Colombia and 3 of them are in Bogota, then we might go and do two separate dates in Bogota, and then if the other 2 students are in Medellin, then we would go there and do a summer orientation with them so that their family and themselves feel more comfortable about coming to Acadia. And then in fall, we have fall orientation when students arrive here on campus. We do have airport pickup. We do have international orientation prior to program orientation with the rest of the Canadian students as well, so that international students can get accustomed to Wolfville, Acadia, get to know other students coming from around the world, make sure that they have the time to go for a trip to Halifax with the rest of the international students and pick up any items that they might need. And then they would have the orientation with their program with the rest of the cohort of the students. So some fun stuff about Acadia, like I've mentioned, is the Bon Portage Island, which is our private research island for hands-on research, which is the picture that you see here. It is a 24 square kilometer island. It's a great opportunity for students, and is a unique opportunity that students don't have anywhere else in Canada. In terms of our co-op, so co-op is basically students would work for a semester instead of attending university. They would receive credits for their work, they would get paid for their work, and they would get professional experience that is really advantageous when they enter the working market. So as we all know, once students graduate, employers are always asking about experience. So a co-op program really puts these students at the advantage compared to the next guy who hadn't done the co-op program. Our co-op coordinators will work with students to really find out what they're interested in and what they want to get out of the co-op program. So for an example, if a student is studying computer science and they know that their career will be software development, then Acadia will put them in a situation where they're gaining specific experience within software development. Or again, if there's a student that's taking computer science, but they don't really know what they have in mind for a specific career in the future, and they just kind of want to feel what their potential careers might look like, then the coordinators will put them in different situations. So one co-op term might be with computer software, another co-op term might be with cybersecurity, another co-op term might be with game development, just for the student to get a more wide idea of what their opportunities in the future are. Students can do 1 co-op term, 2, 3, or 4 co-op term during their undergraduate degree. And typically our students make around $10,000 per work term. So at the end, if students will do a 4 term of co-op, they'll have $40,000 under their belt, graduated with a degree, a year of work experience under their belt, and most of the time they'll have an offer for a job within one of those co-op terms that they've done, because the employers have trained them, they know their work ethic. So all in all, it's a really great opportunity for students, and it really facilitates that transition from being a student to being a working professional. Our co-op program is offered in 80% of our programs. Again, this is marked on the Acadia website, or feel free to ask me which program you're thinking if they have co-op or not. And the last really cool opportunity that we have at Acadia is our exchange program. So even if students are coming from away to study at Acadia, they can still go and do a semester abroad or a year abroad with any of our partnering institutions for the same price as the Acadia tuition. So it's just a little bit more of life experience. Some programs actually require this for graduation. So our German program requires this. Our Spanish program used to require it. So it's just really fun for students to be able to have that opportunity for the same price of staying here at Acadia and studying. So in terms of residences, we do have 12 different residences on campus. All of them are co-ed but one. Whitman House is the only all-girls residence. Everywhere else would be co-ed, but we do have non-alcoholic and quiet sections in each residence. We also offer varying different styles of living situations. So we have the double room where a student has a roommate, a single room where they live alone. We have a deluxe suite style where students will have kind of a living room space and a kitchen space shared between the 3 of them. So different options there, and the prices will vary per room type and residence. So each residence was built in a different year, has a different look, has a different feel to it, but students have the opportunity to choose which residence and which room they want to stay in. There's pictures on the websites and virtual tours as well for students to be able to see. In terms of security, students who have who live in their dorm, so let's say a student lives in Chipman House, their student ID will not let them enter any other building. So it is required to swipe into a building to have access. So that student living in Chipman House can only swipe into Chipman House. They cannot swipe into Chase Court or Cutton House, which means that students need to be let in by a friend into different residence rooms, which just helps with security. We also have resident life assistants in every single one of our residence buildings, and there is 1 per floor. And basically these are upper year students who are responsible for safety within the residences, and there's always 1 on duty during the day. So if a student is feeling anxious or gets locked out of their room or needs any help with anything, there is always someone present within their building to assist them. So residence is guaranteed for all first-year students, and 90% of our first-year students live on campus. So this is a really great experience for students to connect with other students, to make friends, and to really jumpstart their participation within the Acadia community. Each residence will have fun activities to do during Welcome Week, so students can start creating those friendships with other people. And like I mentioned, it's guaranteed, so students don't need to worry about, or families don't need to worry about, well, where's my child, or where am I going to stay? It's guaranteed. And like I mentioned, students and families can pick individually which room or residence they want to be in. Additionally, if they have a friend that is coming as well and they want to room together, they can make that request and be roomed together, or they can be roomed with someone random. It's really up to the student. So our dining hall has unlimited access for students from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. every single day. There is usually 3 different meal options for meal times. And on top of that, we have our My Pantry section for students who don't feel like any of the options for that day. They can make their own meal, and Acadia will provide the ingredients. There is a fridge there. There is smoothie machines there. There are pots and pans and things like that there for students to utilize. And within the fridge, there's always rice, eggs, veggies, spices, and things like that that students can use to cook for themselves. And on top of the 3 different meal options, we do have a flexitarian section for students who are vegetarian or vegan. We have a pizza section, so our dining hall workers will actually make an individual pizza with whatever ingredient the student would prefer. We have the fried food section, which always has some burgers, some fries, chicken fingers, and things like that. There is the sandwich section as well, where students can make their own sandwiches, salad bar as well to make your own salad, and dessert section as well. So lots and lots of options for students, and it's unlimited for them. They can come in how many times they want. They can stay there all day and study. It's really up to them. So in terms of academic success and supports, we do have the equity office. So if a student ever feels like professors being unfair, they can bring those concerns to the equity office. Accessible learning services. So if a student is dyslexic or needs more time for exams, or doesn't want to write an exam in a gymnasium with 1,000 other students, we can accommodate their needs. We do have a Black Student Navigator, Indigenous Student Resource Center, and because students will be coming to Canada and healthcare is inclusive, we do have a counseling center that is free of charge for any student that might feel homesick or anxious, or needing some support within their mental health. We also have our clinic on campus, so if any student might be getting a cold or doesn't feel well, they can go to the clinic on campus and get care from there as well. We have numerous amount of jobs on campus. So for international students, they can work part-time, 20 hours per week, on various places on campus, such as our bookstore, Cajuns, the Axe Bar Lounge. They can work with safety and security. They can be the people who film our varsity games, do the commentary on varsity games and things like that. We also have a bunch of student resources at the Student Resource Center, and a bunch of clubs and extracurricular activities. So even though we are a small university, there's more than 80 ways for students to get involved, whether it's the dance club or the Canadian Studies Association, chess club, or things like that. And we also have 3 different levels of sports at Acadia: intramurals, club sports, and varsity sports. There are additional scholarships for varsity athletes, but these are at the discretion of the coaches. And all of our scholarships are stackable, just to let you know. Each program will have its own society. So students will get involved. They'll get some cool shirts and sweaters that says Acadia Politics or Acadia Psychology or things like that. So there's lots of ways for students to get involved. We also offer a boarding pass program. What that is basically if a student wants to come and visit Acadia, we are so convinced that they would love our campus so much that they will attend in September. So we will reimburse the student's ticket one way. So even if a student is coming from the other side of the world and they visit Acadia and then they end up coming in September, we will reimburse their one-way ticket. So it's a really good opportunity for students to explore what Acadia life might feel like. And in terms of our social medias, we have the Acadia website, we have Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and we have the Acadia University app where students can apply through the app. So that's pretty much it. We also have QR codes that you could utilize to start an application as well. But that was pretty much my presentation. And I'm just going to leave this here.
Thank you so much, Anna. What a wonderful and thorough presentation. When you were describing all of the meal options at the dining hall, I was like, oh my God, I'm kind of hungry now. With all the fried and like chips and salads and things like that. That sounds amazing. Thank you so much for that.
Really great place anyway. But thank you for having me. I don't know if there's any questions.
Yes, definitely. So let me get started, Anna, with some of the questions that I get asked by our agents so frequently. And the first one is about employment. Everyone knows that because of the pandemic, things have been challenging for employment opportunities everywhere. But I just want to see how is that going on in the Halifax-Wolfville area. Are students finding a hard time finding employment opportunities, either part-time or as part of their co-op possibilities? Or is the total contrary? Opportunities are abundant at the moment, and this is the perfect time to be there and find employment further visa regulations?
Right. So I would say that the area that has been the most affected would be students working within restaurants. Because of restrictions and less capacity, there is less need for students working within those areas. So just to give you an example, a student working in a restaurant prior to the pandemic would work maybe 3 shifts a week. So let's say that's 18 hours. Now they're probably working 1 shift. And probably being sent home on their 2nd shift early before the end of closing, just because they're not that busy. In terms of other areas, so grocery stores, they're needing people, fast food restaurants, they're needing people, any shop, they're needing people because a lot of people have moved away. So there are lots of opportunities. The jobs on campus have not diminished. They've been the same. So students still have the opportunity to work on campus. But I would let you know that most students who do come to Acadia will find more opportunities in the towns around. So the next town over from Wolfville, which is maybe a 10-minute drive away, is New Minas. And that is the shopping capital of the valley. So it has a lot of grocery stores, little shops that need some extra help as well. So that's pretty much how that is. In terms of co-op, it hasn't been affected negatively. Students are still able to get a work term.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I have a question from one of our agents here, from Laura. She's from Mexico. And the question reads as follows. Are there residencies for couples and families?
So we do have a mature residence, Rojo, which is Roy Godfrey Hall, and that has the suite style apartments. So that usually can fit a family. It has 3 separate bedrooms with a communal living room space, their own washroom, and kind of a kitchen. So it's an apartment style residence, which can accommodate families.
Thank you, Anna. Next question from Laura is, can you talk about the health sciences program open for international students?
Sure. So any of our programs is available to international students. There is no restriction for how many can partake in specific programs. In terms of health sciences, Acadia is an undergraduate university, so we don't have a specific medical program or a veterinary program or a pharmaceutical program because these are pursued at the graduate level in Canada. You need an undergraduate degree prior to studying those areas. But what we do offer within the Faculty of Science is a health science option. What that is students will still have to declare a major within biology, chemistry, engineering, nutrition, dietetics, psychology, or math and statistics. But they would also be supported in ways that advantage their pursuing that higher level within those fields of medicine, veterinary science, pharmaceutical science, physiotherapy, or things like that. We have a health science coordinator, which will make sure that students are taking the courses that they need to really fit within that specialization when they further their education. They will help with finding extracurricular activities that make their application stand out compared to other students that might apply. They also help students find the schools of their choice that fit their individual interests or needs, as well as help with MCATs and applications and things like that. So our health science coordinator is really a great backbone for the students who are looking to pursue that education within those health science fields.
Thank you, Anna. Next question from Laura as well is regarding transfer students. If a student has done a degree back home, could Acadia take some of the credit for a bachelor's degree at Acadia?
Yes, so right now we only have one team member that does the credit assessment. This process is done after a student has been accepted. So students coming from other institutions of higher learning outside of high school, their average for admission is different than coming straight up out of high school. So we look for a minimum of a 2.5 GPA, CGPA, so cumulative GPA from a student who is looking to transfer. After a student has received an offer of admission, then our assessor would look through their transcripts and compare the courses that they have taken with the core required courses within the program that they would be taking at Acadia, and after which they would let the student know how many credits would transfer. We do have a policy of a maximum of 2 years that are transferable for students. So no matter what, students need to do 2 years at Acadia to graduate with an Acadia University degree.
Great, thank you. Another question regarding admission. This one is from my and Anna. As you would know, in some of the countries in Latin America, say Colombia, say Peru, say Ecuador, our high school systems go up to year 11. We do not have that additional year 12, which is the case for Mexico and for Brazil. Would those students graduating from a Colombian 11-year high school system be accepted into Acadia University? Would they require a foundation year prior to that?
So they would be eligible for our programs if they have the relevant courses. So if they have that math component, if they're looking into the sciences or anything like that, they do not need to take an extra foundation year.
Awesome. And English proficiency or English programs. I know that there is an English preparation program that students can enroll prior on enrolling into the main degree at Acadia. Can you tell us a little bit about how that program works and maybe some of the costs that are involved and the timings and the minimum level that a student would need to demonstrate in order to be accepted for that pre-sessional English program?
Absolutely. So what we have is the English for Academic Purposes program. There is no minimum level that a student needs to have to be able to participate in this. We do offer various levels. and we try to get a student to the level that they need for like entrance to our programs. Every single level of the course is 10 weeks. So it doesn't coincide with a full semester at the university degree. But if a student needs to bridge certain, like more than 2 levels, then they can do so cohesively throughout a semester and then join within the next intake. What the EAP does, students can either stay on campus or can stay with a family here to get more of the Canadian experience. So it is based on language learning, but also a cultural experience and exchange. So students would be doing activities that are specific to Nova Scotia and to the region while they're here, just so that they get the maximum out of the experience. So yeah, depending on the student, they would do 1, 2, or 3, or 4 terms with the EAP program to then graduate and be able to attend any Canadian university or English-speaking university or Acadia if they so choose. We also have the bridging program, which is for students who are closer to the level that they need to be to attend Acadia University, but are not quite there. The bridging program allows students to study the language, but as well as take 2 university credit courses so that they're not fully penalized, I guess, if that's how you want to look at it. But they are able to do both, which is really great for students because they get that language proficiency and they slowly ease into a university program fully immersed in English. Students who want to do the EAP, it's a completely different application from the Acadia undergraduate program. Basically, if they do the EAP alone, because it is an option, they have to apply through the EAP portion of the Acadia website. If a student applies to an undergraduate degree and we see that they don't fulfill the English language requirements, then we would send them an email, let them know that they have the option to take the EAP program. And we are able to give a conditional offer of admission based on their grades and the commitment to fulfill the EAP program. The 10-week program can also be done virtually at home as well. So if a student wants to get a higher level of English proficiency, they can do so right from their living room at home and then come to us in September to finish or to start their undergraduate program as well. It's usually, I would say, I think it's around $3,000 to have that 10-week program. And I think it's around $4,500 for students who come to Acadia and stay in residence, which they still have the full experience of utilizing the meal plan, access to all the facilities here, making friends. And then there's students who would do the $4,500 as well, but live with families here, which they would be a little bit more immersed into the local culture.
Thank you, Anna. I have a couple of follow-up questions on the ESL component. The first one is from Viviana, one of our agents in Bogota. Do you have English pathway with English schools in Canada?
So we do not, because we have our own English school here.
Okay, and the following question is from Laura. During the bridging program, are the students allowed to work?
No, because they're not full-time students. So for any international student to be able to work, they need to be registered as a full-time student. Since students in the EAP program are only taking 2 undergraduate level courses and then the rest as a language component, it doesn't actually qualify for full-time university studies.
Okay, both from Laura and Viviana, international students can apply to postgraduate programs?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. From Laura, are there any sports scholarships for international?
Yes, so any sports scholarships are at the discretion of the coaches. We do have for men, we have basketball, football, American football, and then soccer, so football. We have swimming and hockey, men's hockey. For women's, we have women's rugby, women's soccer, women's basketball, women's volleyball, and cross country. And each coach can give whatever amount of money that they have. It's completely different than the scholarships for academics to any student that they choose. So if there is a student that's really, really talented, the coach might be like, you don't need to worry about anything, just come. It's really at the discretion of the coach.
Awesome. And last question from Laura, how many intakes per year do you have?
So we have the 2 intakes, September or January.
Great. Flavio, do we have any questions from your end?
Actually, the questions were covered. I would just want to say that I myself found very interesting the fact of the boarding pass option. It's going to be nice for us to, to promote with our agents in terms of incentives. It's quite nice and quite unique, and I've never seen it before. And I would like just to talk a little bit about the PGWP program. The customer service success help students in terms of applying those kinds of things.
Sorry, it didn't quite, you cut out, I didn't understand.
And I'm talking about the PGWP work permit after studies. Oh. If the customer success department helps students and how to apply for it.
So from my understanding of how the post-work graduation permit works, is students who have graduated from Acadia with a degree can work and stay in Canada for up to 3 years without applying for a different visa. So they don't actually need to make a different application. They can just stay and find work. In terms of how the university supports students to find work, it really depends per student and their relationship with professors and the opportunities that are presented as well. And of course, students who take the co-op program have more opportunities readily available to them than students who do not and kind of keep to themselves and don't create really good relationships with professors. But the tendency is that professors are really willing to support students, give them recommendations in order to find a job. And in most cases, professors actually suggest students to apply to this position or this position because they think it would fulfill their interests.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Anna. It's been a pleasure having you as part of our Agent E-Summit session this morning. Thank you so much for your time and for your amazing presentation. Thanks to all of our agents present here. We look forward to engaging with you in the near future, and we will be sending the PDF and the recording of this presentation later on this week. Again, thank you so much, Anna.
Thank you so much for having me. I hope everyone is staying safe and having a wonderful day.
Thank you. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.